Hi there, this is Tom Suvansri at the Perennial Pride podcast. Thanks for joining me and spending some time. I know time is a hugely valuable resource. It's one of those things as I reflect as I get older. I see friends I've known for 20 plus years and like, where's that time gone? It's amazing how it can quickly go by. And, when you look at the span of our time, it may seem that life is short, but I really do believe life can be pretty long. It's just how we spend it. Are we using our time as valuable as we could? And it's our scarcest resource. Just talking to some friends and hearing them say, I don't have time for that, or to go golfing, for instance. Like it's a very time consuming activity. It's how do we find the time to do all the things we want and to impact the things we want? That's really at the heart of having freedom in life and fulfillment. And, oftentimes it's difficult to find that time. One partial remedy to that is to have resources to buy back time, right? We have to have wealth and resources that we want to provide for our families and do some of the things we want, buy the things that we find enjoyment with, but we need resources to do that. And typically it comes from our jobs. And so if we stop that, then, some of that stuff will stop too. So the question is, how can we buy back more of our time through our resources by building up assets, using our wealth wisely? Unfortunately, what I've seen and learned through the course of my experience with personal finances and the typical advice is a lot of the strategies and approaches that most people are taught and marketed to keep most people out of control of their wealth. And unfortunately, through the course of that, and sometimes hidden, that a lot of those dollars are flying away from us, right? We make the money and it goes out the door to a host of different entities and businesses, and unfortunately can't get used for our own purposes. And two of the biggest culprits in my mind are taxes, which we'll be covering a lot of that through the course of this podcast around ways to maybe mitigate that. But the other aspect of it is interest to financial institutions and banks, right? These are significant because to live the life we want, sometimes we have to leverage other people's resources to bring forward income that we're trying to produce today. So that's where a lot of wealth is actually getting eroded from a lot of people. The way we use our dollars, how we finance things in our lives. And so that's what I've learned over the course of my sort of experience and education. Is there of another way, a different way to do that, to finance everything in our lives, to paying for college, to financing our investments and controlling that? Because what happens for most people is that the first dollars that they make, and when they come to you, where do they go first? Well, they go to a bank, and you sit there and it stores wealth there. And yes, it's safe for the most part, but doesn't really earn all that much. And then if we need to borrow money to do something, where do we go? We go to that same bank that we're depositing money that's earning little to no interest and benefiting us. And so how do we better utilize our resources to maximize our wealth? Well, one option that I came across, and I use this personally, and is the infinite banking concept. And you may have heard it called family banking, privatized banking, but at the heart of it is utilizing your own banking function, creating a financing arm that you can use to store wealth, but also have a guaranteed source of financing to purchases for investments that you can control, that is a storehouse of wealth for your family. And I affectionately call it the family bank because it's something that is secure, it protects my family, and it allows me control more of the financing needs in my life to fund anything in life, right? Obviously, primarily for my purposes, and we'll go into this in future episodes, is how we use that same dollar in multiple spots to not only store and protect my family, but use it to invest in other assets that bring more money back into my world. And so this is a concept that we're going to go deeper into in future episodes, but I want to give you a flavor on what it is. And it's, it's not a product per se, although there is a uniquely designed life insurance contract that plays the large role in the strategy, but it's centered around our way of thinking. How can we think more abundantly on how we use our dollars? So we're funneling money into a safe storage bin of dollars that is guaranteed to grow, is protected from taxes, from inflation, from market loss, and we get to use those dollars and use someone else's money the life insurance company's money to invest and to fund our lifestyle. And we keep our money constantly growing and growing, compounding, tax free to use whenever we want. And so this is a concept of and asset. Typically, when we think about finances, we think we can put in one spot or put it into another. It's an either or, right? In this sort of scenario, we can have dollars that is a safe place for us to store that can grow with moderate growth, and we can use it for whenever we want to use it. It's our choice. We get to control that financing arm. When you go to ask for a bank, whose terms are they? They're there. It's a bank's terms. Who's in control? So this allows us to control more of our wealth. And then when we want to finance things, we can dictate when we take it and how we pay it back and how we use it, and allow our dollars to constantly compound and grow in the background safely with no chance of market loss. So just wanted to give you a broad stroke of that. We're going to go into a lot more detail on that. There's tons of resources around it. I'd highly encourage you to read, put a link to it in the show notes, The Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. It was a book that I read years ago. It really highlighted this concept. And I wrote a small version called The Family Bank that, distills down kind of the core essence of it and how I use it for my own purposes in my family, and how it's helping me set up generational wealth that they can use your own financing arm as my kids and grandkids get to use that, provide funding for education or grow businesses, and whatever it is they want to use it for, give them options and have those dollars more in control of their world. And so these are concepts that are probably new to a lot of people. And this is why we have this podcast, is to provide education for open-minded, responsible people who are looking for more, looking for different options to explore than what is typical out there. Because what I come across from a lot of people is there's people there just recognize that maybe the typical system that is being shared with most people is enriching a lot of people and keeping a lot of other people dealing with a lesser option. And people are exploring, looking for new ways. So I really highly encourage you to explore this further. Certainly reach out if you want to talk to me directly about it. But it's a tremendous concept for the right type of people with the right type of discipline and mindsets who want to control and own their financial futures, and more importantly, their futures in general. And so I just wanted to share this concept with you. And in future episodes, we'll go through is more detail around the family banking concept, but more importantly, how do I leverage that family bank to accelerate my wealth even faster under things that I can control, and come with advantages from tax protections and other advantages of cash flow that you may not sort of realize are available to most people based on the typical financial advice that keeps us out of control of our wealth. So I hope this was helpful for you. It's a starting point education around this, but I wanted to share this as we build up the foundation of this podcast, and certainly reach out with questions and thoughts around on this. And we'll be back for our next episode.